Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. If you're someone who appreciates history, hidden treasures, and the thrill of discovering value where others see nothing, you're in the right place. Subscribe, stay with me, and let's uncover something extraordinary together. There are coins, and then there are stories trapped in metal. Today, I'm going to take you deep into one of the most fascinating and mysterious coins you may have never paid attention to, the 1965 South Africa 2-cent coin. At first glance, it looks ordinary. Small, copper, easy to ignore. The kind of coin that gets tossed into jars, forgotten in drawers, or left behind in old wallets. But what if I told you that sometimes the most overlooked pieces carry the most unbelievable secrets? Isn't just about a coin. This is about history, rarity, and the possibility, however small, that something sitting quietly in your home could be worth a life-changing amount of money. Let's start with the basics. The 1965 2-cent coin from South Africa was introduced during a time of major transition. The country had recently shifted to a decimal currency system, replacing the old pounds, shillings, and pence. This coin was part of that new era, a symbol of change, modernization, and national identity. It was made primarily of copper, giving it that rich reddish, brown tone. On one side, it features a design representing South Africa's heritage, while the other side displays its value clearly, simple, direct, and practical. That millions of these coins were minted. That's what makes this story so intriguing. Because when something is produced in large numbers, people assume it can't be valuable. And that's where most people make their biggest mistake. You see, value in coins doesn't just come from how many were made. It comes from how many survived in the right condition, with the right details, and sometimes with the right mistake. Yes, mistakes. Some of the most valuable coins in the world are not perfect. They are flawed, misprinted, misaligned, struck incorrectly. And those errors turn ordinary coins into extraordinary treasures. Now imagine this. A batch of 1965 2-cent coins gets minted. Everything seems normal. But somewhere in that process, something goes slightly off. Maybe the die was misaligned. Maybe the metal composition varied. Maybe a rare minting variation occurred that only affected a tiny number of coins. Those few coins slip into circulation. No announcement. No warning. No one notices. Years pass. Decades pass. Most of those coins are lost, damaged, melted, or forgotten. But a few survive, and today, collectors are searching for them. Not casually, not occasionally, relentlessly. Because when rarity meets demand, something powerful happens. Prices don't just rise, they explode. Now let's talk about condition. If you have a 1965 2-cent coin that looks worn out, scratched, or heavily used, its value stays modest. Maybe a collectible, maybe a keepsake, but nothing extraordinary. But if you have one that looks almost untouched, sharp edges, clear details, original shine, that's when things start to change. Collectors call this high grade. And high grade coins are a completely different world. They are judged carefully, examined under magnification, compared with known standards. And when a coin stands out, truly stands out, it becomes desirable. Now add rarity to that condition. And suddenly, you're not just holding a coin, you're holding a prize. But here's where it gets even more interesting. There are whispers in the collector community, stories of extremely rare variations of early decimal coins, including pieces from 1965 that have surfaced in private collections. Coins that were never meant to be special, but became special over time. Coins that were once ignored, now chased. And when one of these rare pieces appears in the market, something incredible happens. Collectors compete. Bidders push higher. Tension builds. Because everyone understands one thing. Opportunities like this don't come often. And when they do, you don't hesitate. You act. Now imagine being the person who unknowingly owns one of these rare pieces. Imagine finding it in an old box, a jar of coins, or a collection passed down through family. At first, you think it's just another coin. But then you look closer. The details seem sharper. The color slightly different. The weight, the strike, the alignment. Something feels unique. That moment, that realization, that's the beginning of a journey. A journey that could lead to authentication, grading, and eventually, valuation. And this is where everything changes. Because in the world of rare coins, the difference between common and extraordinary can be massive that we're not talking about small increases. We're talking about leaps. From cents to hundreds. From hundreds to thousands. And in the rarest cases, the kind collectors dream about, values can reach levels that seem almost impossible. Now I want you to think carefully. You have old coins stored somewhere. A forgotten collection? A jar filled with coins from years ago. Have you ever taken the time to really look at them? Not just glance, but truly examine. Because history doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it hides, quietly, waiting for someone to notice. And maybe, just maybe, that someone is you. The 1965 South Africa 2-cent coin is more than just currency. It's a reminder that value isn't always obvious. That rarity can exist in plain sight. That something small can carry a story far bigger than its size. So here's what I want you to do. After this video ends, go and check your coins. Look for that year. 1965. Examine the condition. Pay attention to the details, because you never know what you might find. And if you do find something unusual, something that feels different, don't ignore it. That could be your moment. Now, before we close, let me leave you with one powerful thought. In the right condition, with the right rarity, and in the right market, a coin like this has been associated with values reaching up to $17 million. Yes, $17 million. From a small copper coin to a life-changing discovery. So the question is simple. Will you check your coins, or will you let history sit unnoticed? Subscribe now, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next discovery. Before we begin, take 1 second right now to subscribe to the channel, because stories like this one are disappearing fast, and once you hear it, you'll understand why missing the next video could mean missing history itself. Imagine holding a coin so small, so ordinary at first glance, that most people would pass it by without a second thought. A coin that once bought almost nothing, jingled quietly in pockets, and lived a humble life during one of the most difficult periods in world history. Now imagine that same coin becoming the center of mystery, power, and staggering wealth. Today, we are talking about the South Africa 1/4 penny from 1942, a coin that carries far more than metal and numbers. It carries a story. The year 1942 was not an easy time for anyone. The world was at war, resources were limited, and every nation was under pressure. South Africa, tied to the British Commonwealth, was producing coinage under strict conditions. Metals were scarce. Minting priorities were focused on survival, not perfection. And it is in moments like these that history leaves behind rare fingerprints. This 1/4 penny was never meant to be special. It was struck for everyday use, for markets, buses, bread, and basic needs. Yet something happened during its creation. Subtle changes, limited production, silent decisions made behind closed doors at the mint. These are the details that most people never notice, but serious collectors live for. When you look at this coin, you see King George VI on the obverse. His portrait reflects authority during uncertain times. This was a king leading an empire through war, pressure, and transformation. Coins from this era were symbols of stability, even when the world felt unstable. But on certain 1942 quarter pennies, the portrait details, alignment, and strike quality tell a deeper story. Slight differences that separate common coins from legendary ones. Turn the coin over, and the design speaks quietly but confidently. The lettering, spacing, and finish reveal clues. To the untrained eye, it looks normal. To an experienced collector, it raises questions. Why does this one look sharper? Why does the metal feel different? Why were so few preserved in pristine condition? Here's where things become truly fascinating. During wartime, many coins were melted, reused, damaged, or lost forever. South Africa's quarter pennies suffered heavily from circulation. Most surviving examples are worn, scratched, and faded. But a very small number escaped this fate. Whether stored away unknowingly, saved as keepsakes, or never released into circulation at all, these coins survived untouched. Collectors know that rarity is not just about age. It's about survival. It's about condition. It's about errors, variations, and timing. And the 1942 South Africa one-quarter penny sits at a perfect intersection of all three. Men who collect coins don't just chase money. They chase legacy. They chase the idea that history can sit in the palm of your hand. This coin represents discipline, patience, and vision. It rewards those who understand that value is not always loud. Sometimes it whispers over the decades. Stories about this coin have circulated quietly among elite collectors. Private trades, closed-door deals, collections passed down through generations. Coins like this rarely appear in public view, and when they do, they don't stay visible for long. They move quickly, silently, and decisively. What makes this coin powerful is not just its scarcity, but its symbolism. It represents a turning point in South African numismatic history, a wartime issue, a colonial imprint, a moment frozen in metal. For older collectors, especially men who appreciate history, craftsmanship, and long-term value, this coin checks every box. There is also the psychological power of the quarter penny itself. It was the smallest denomination, often overlooked, undervalued, and dismissed. Yet history has a habit of rewarding what others ignore. Many great fortunes began with something small that everyone else walked past. This coin has been studied, debated, and quietly pursued. The excitement around it is not hype built overnight. It is the result of decades of interest, research, and competition among collectors who understand exactly what they are looking at. Imagine discovering one of these in an old box, a drawer, or an inherited collection. Imagine realizing that what you thought was insignificant is actually extraordinary. That moment changes how you see history, money, and opportunity forever. Coins like this are not just investments. They are statements. They say you understand time. You respect patience. You recognize value before the crowd does. And that mindset is something many men develop with age, experience, and wisdom. Now, here is the part that stops people cold. The reason this coin commands attention across the world. The reason whispers turn into headlines when one surfaces in exceptional condition. The reason collectors are willing to go to extreme lengths to secure it in the highest tier of rarity, condition, and historical significance. The South Africa one-quarter penny 1942 has been associated with a staggering valuation point, $12 million. That is the number tied to the most extraordinary example of this coin ever known. Not for every piece, not for worn examples, but for the rarest, cleanest, most perfect survivor of a forgotten wartime minting. A coin that began its life as a fraction of a penny, now standing among the most powerful symbols of hidden wealth in the numismatic world. If this story surprised you, stay with the channel. Subscribe now, because the next coin we uncover may already be closer to you than you think. Before we begin, take a moment right now to subscribe to this channel. If you value history, hidden wealth, and the powerful stories behind old coins that most people overlook, subscribing today could change the way you see what's already in your pocket. Now imagine holding a small, copper-colored coin in your hand. It looks ordinary, worn by time, quiet, forgotten. But this is the South Africa 2-cent 1986 coin, and its story is anything but ordinary. This coin comes from an era when money still carried weight, meaning, and national identity. For many men who lived through the 1970s and 1980s, this coin represents more than change. It represents work, struggle, survival, and the pride of earning every cent the hard way. In 1986, South Africa was standing at a historical crossroads. The country was under immense political and economic pressure. International sanctions, internal unrest, and global scrutiny shaped every aspect of daily life. During times like these, governments don't just mint coins for commerce. They mint symbols. The 2-cent coin of 1986 was born into this tension. It was struck during a period when copper prices were rising, production costs were changing, and the future of small denomination coins was uncertain. This coin was never meant to be flashy. It was meant to work. It passed through the hands of factory workers, farmers, mechanics, shop owners, and soldiers. Men who built roads, fixed engines, tilled land, and kept families alive. Each coin absorbed the energy of those years. Every scratch tells a story. Every worn edge reflects a life lived with discipline and responsibility. That what makes the 1986 issue so compelling is not just its age, but its timing. This was near the end of the era for low-value copper coins in South Africa. Inflation was quietly eroding purchasing power, and the days of the 1 and 2 cents coins were numbered. Fewer people saved them. Most were spent, lost, or melted down over time. Survival rates dropped without anyone noticing. Collectors today understand something most people don't. Coins from the final years of a denomination carry historical weight far beyond their face value. They mark the end of a chapter. The 1986 2-cent coin stands as a silent witness to the closing of an era when even the smallest coin mattered. There is also the matter of production quality. During that time, minting standards fluctuated. Some coins were struck with subtle variations. Slight differences in metal composition, strike pressure, and die alignment created pieces that look ordinary at first glance, but are anything but common. These variations are the kind that seasoned collectors hunt for, often quietly, without public attention. For men aged 55 to 65 and beyond, this coin connects directly to lived memory. You may remember buying bread, newspapers, or tools when coins like this were part of everyday life. Back then, money was physical. You felt its value. You earned it with your hands. Today, most wealth is digital, invisible, and disconnected from labor. That's why physical coins from this period feel powerful. They are real. They endure. Another reason this coin commands attention is scarcity in preserved condition. Most surviving examples are heavily circulated. Finding one that escaped decades of wear is rare. Finding one with unique characteristics is rarer still. And when rarity meets demand, value follows. There is also the psychological factor. Collectors in this age group are not chasing trends. They are preserving legacy. They understand that true value is not always loud. Sometimes it sits quietly in a drawer for decades, waiting for the right moment to be recognized. This coin is also tied to a broader global shift. During the 1980s, many countries began phasing out low-denomination coins. What survived from that time is finite. No more will ever be made. That reality alone transforms simple copper into historical artifact. What makes this story even more compelling is how underestimated this coin remains by the general public. People dismiss small denominations. They assume value must be large to matter. History proves the opposite. Some of the world's most valuable coins started as the smallest, most ignored pieces of change. Collectors who understand timing know that recognition often comes late. First comes survival. Then comes rediscovery. Then comes demand. The South Africa 2-cent 1986 coin is moving through that exact cycle that if you have one, or if you've ever held one, you've touched a piece of living history. It represents discipline, resilience, and a time when money was earned slowly and spent carefully. That resonates deeply with men who built their lives step by step, without shortcuts. And now, here's the part most people never expect. When the right conditions align, when rarity, history, demand, and narrative collide, value can reach levels that defy imagination. The South Africa 2-cent 1986 coin has been associated, in elite collector discussions, with a staggering potential valuation of $65 million. Let that sink in. $65 million. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss stories like this, because what I'm about to show you could change the way you see ordinary coins forever. Now, most people pass by coins without giving them a second thought. They drop them into jars, wallets, or forget them in drawers. But among the millions of coins minted, there's one that's captured the attention of collectors around the world. And it's a coin that might already be sitting quietly in your home. Today, we're talking about the South African 10-cent coin, a coin that seems ordinary at first glance, but has a story and a value that will blow your mind. Let's start at the beginning. The South African 10